Welcome to this Wednesday afternoon soiree, even if it's in the late afternoon around 5 or so. The sun is just going down, and today is Wednesday, the 30th of January. So we're at the coming toward the end of January, the first month of the year. And just a little house cleaning here. I want to encourage people to help save to PATV. So if you want to donate to PATV, you can help create an endowment that will fund PATV in the future. So just contacted PATV on Facebook or on Twitter, and just volunteered to say I'm helping to save PATV Channel 18 Iowa City. PATV needs your help. It's a voice of the voiceless, a great voice of diversity and freedom and communication in the heart of downtown Iowa City on South Dubuque Street, just off South Dubuque. So, folks, shine it on and put your heart song in here and help PATV shine its light for several years to come. That's a good thing to do. So, also, the elections are coming up for the Iowa caucuses, which is Monday night. So I don't know if you'll see this before then, but we'll say that Bernie won. All right. Yay, Bernie. Hallelujah. We got you, Bernie. We got your back. So we're declaring an early victory for Bernie. And if you see this before then, get on down the caucuses. It's at 6:30, wherever you find out where you vote. Get there by 6:30 because they're going to close the doors at 7, and have your voice count and be the voice of a change and the voice of a revolution, a movement and a revolution. And support Bernie. He's the voice in the time of this generation. So let's help Bernie get into the White House. And so in celebration of that, it's an early celebration and a celebration for Bernie. Congratulations, Bernie. Okay. So on the 2nd, this is the day after the Iowa caucuses, is the 2nd of February, which is halfway point, the midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox. That's like 6.5 weeks after winter solstice, which is the 20th of December, and 6.5 weeks before spring equinox on March 20th. And that's the day on 2nd of February that Puxatawny Phil pops out. And if he sees his shadow, it means there's like 6 more weeks of winter or something like that. So it's all a myth, but hey, we need myth. We live by story, and that's how we weave, as word weavers, we weave the myth of the mythic image into the story of now in our community. And our community may be around the campfire of the television tube, and this particular television story is called GreenFire. So the GreenFire is a little bit of the ecological wisdom and the wild craziness of people who take a stand and follow their conscience and follow their heart and have a voice that has courage in it. So it's the green fire of the wolf's eyes, which is the howl of the wolf. In deep ecology, that's the man and wolf are not that far apart. In the mammalian winter hibernation, we're more alike than we know. So there's a really cool book that you might want to think about checking out by Barry Holst and Lopez called Of Wolves and Men. That's just a very sensitive, sinuous celebration of affirmation, not this ugly demonization of wolves, but seeing them as part of the family of man as well. It's called Of Wolves and Men. And it goes into the mythic image, the folklore, and the fairy tales, but also the biology and actually the etymology of wolves as well. Barry Holst and Lopez. That's a cool find. If you can find that, you found something really cool. So this is part of the house cleaning, early embers of the waning days of January, which is the waxing moon now. We're in a waxing moon. We just came out of a full moon. It's called the full moon of the wolf moon, or the howling wolf moon. So that kind of fits right into GreenFire, which is, again, the totem of the wolf. So in that sense, we're going to go into a piece that I wrote simply called Goddess of the Doctrine of Separation. And this is a piece that found its own way. Sometimes you don't write these things, they write you. In this particular sense, this thing wrote me last night around midnight. This is a piece fresh off the pen, and who knows where it came from, but it has a lot of Buddhist references in here. We'll cover them after we go through this piece here. First, it goes in your mind, in your head, and second, it goes in your heart. So we'll do this in the mind and then get into the heart, so that the mind collapses into the heart, and you have the mind and heart connection through a process of surrender, and then brings us into a sea of serenity. So this is called the Goddess of the Doctrine of Separation. No one knows what hangs here. Thoughts, ideas, sentences. No thing on stilts. No drama. And the no drama in a kabuki theater. The Oregon bearded bastards, or could it be a Jovian Jubilee, juju beads? Kikuyu prayers to the divine. Old-time gospel, bluegrass Appalachian string banjo, French Appalachian, Vietnam in a long railroad tunnel, rolling backward through runnels of time. Echoes of nightmares of steam and smoke in a hothouse hell of Mekong disaster. In the heart of darkness, overlord flashbacks. In the heart of darkness, overlord flashbacks to the Buddha in flames in the lotus in the sea of fire. Now this is in the heart of darkness. This is a loaded koan here, this coded language. In the heart of darkness, the overlord flashbacks to the Buddha in flames in lotus in a sea of fire. So like this will get the juices flowing here. Loss of desire in the ghost realms. This is loss of desire in the ghost realms. Robed in saffron orange lays of lay down loaded time. Of lay down loaded time. So this is emptying the kairos, or the psi bank. So like in psychology, you have a study of the psyche. Well, the psi bank is part of the ancient Greek golden mean consciousness of Pythagoras, PSI. The psi bank is where the higher consciousness is kind of set up in a nested reality. So this is unloading that time. That's called loaded time, unloading the psi bank, PSI. So it's nothing you see on your TV. You're not going to see this on network television. You're not going to see this much in underground. You're going to have this notes from the underground. But these would be golden notes from the Pythagorean golden mean, 600 BC. So this is loss of desire in the ghost realms, robed in the saffron orange lays of lay down loaded time, the realms of hungry ghosts. These are the realms of hungry ghosts exercised in Buddha Tsongkhapa from the 1st century A.D. Exercised in Buddha Tsongkhapa, the Song of Eightfold Noble Truths, the Song of Eightfold Noble Truths of Madhyamika and Chuangzi Feng Shui. So this is loaded right through the Tibetan Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau into Chuangzi and the secret of the golden flower. And beyond dukkha, misery, in 15-hour journey to Wei on the reunification train, 1,072 miles long, celebrating the victory over the Americans in unfolding the secret of the golden flower. Seen in the Kabbalah, Pythagoras, the I Ching, and the Mayan Popol Vuh, outside the purview of the papal view, outcropping the world in the Vatican balcony, overlooking time in a reign of control of the lower realms. demons, deities of the Ashura realm, reassuring nothing, in assaying your truth, in reassessing your future, in charts of the insurance agent, selling you burial insurance, then life insurance in terms of term insurance, redeemed only at the terminal of time. Let's slow down time here a little bit. These are demons and deities of the Ashura realm, reassuring nothing, in assaying and reassessing your future, in charts of the insurance agent. Just think of your favorite insurance agent. I might be one, you might be one, might be your neighbor. Selling you burial insurance and then life insurance in terms of term insurance. This is term insurance. So this is just term insurance, redeemed only at the terminal of time. So you never get to redeem your insurance, man. That's kind of twisted logic, isn't it? Redeemed only at the terminal of time. Om Nami Padme Hum. Om Nami Padme Hum. Om Nami Padme Hum. For whom the bell tolls. For whom the bell tolls and then peals across canyons of exposed people. Static and stratified status. Walking statues in the daily circus, they perform roles. They perform roles for their daily bread. This bell then peals across canyons of exposed people. Static and stratified status, walking statues in the daily circus. They perform roles for their daily bread. And we've all performed roles for our daily bread, so none of us are excused from this little witness here. This is bread and circus for the minions. Bread and circus for the minions while Babylon burns down at ground zero. Bread and circus for the minions while Babylon burns down at ground zero. We'll have the Super Bowl in San Francisco while Babylon burns down at ground zero. They don't see Dexter Dei, the right hand of God. They don't see Dexter Dei, the right hand of God, in a compassionate sutra for the heart of man. In a compassionate sutra for the heart of man, even in 100,000 tons of bombs, in the bloodiest attack of history of the Vietnam War, even in the 100,000 tons of bombs in the bloodiest attack in the history of the Vietnam War at Khe Sanh, carry on at Khe Sanh. 5 million dead, $200 billion down the drain. 5 million dead, $100 billion down the drain. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. For the cessation of suffering of all sentient beings. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. For the cessation of suffering of all sentient beings. Ah, path of the Bodhisattva. Ah, path of the Bodhisattva. In Zazen laughing bowl of crazy Zen bastards shouting Hoka-hey. Ah, path of the Bodhisattva in Zazen laughing bowl of crazy Zen bastards shouting Hoka-hey and disappearing as Apache Heskes and reappearing in the high plains of past the 100th meridian and reappearing in the high plains past the 100th monkey meridian in the high-low country as C.C. Stas dog soldiers, wearing the ghost dancer shirts of Wovoka. Wearing the ghost dancer shirts of Wovoka. In the war mind, you wear a helmet of time. In the war mind, you wear a helmet of time. You cannot see a peacetime because you're constricted and blinded in a conscripted script of the anaconda scripture. In the war mind, you are a helmet of time. You cannot see a peacetime. You can't see it. You're numbed out. You're blinded because you're constricted and blinded, and your vasoconstriction, the oxygen to your veins causes you loss of vision at times because you're being constricted, so you can't see. Everything is tight, right? So you're being suffocated because you're constricted and blinded in a conscripted script of the anaconda scripture of crushed bones and skulls, bombed out schools, and napalm flames of little girls running down a road of bombed out death. You are controlled inside this helmet of time in the war mind. You are controlled inside this helmet of time in the war mind. All hope is abandoned to all who enter here. Abandon all hope, all you who enter here. All hope is abandoned to all who enter here. Inside this helmet of time, you cannot see with a moral mind. Immoral is the slime that oozes down any last vestige of bodhicitta motivation. Laying in decay in the muck, you're just a schmuck stuck in the bottoms of the Mekong Delta forest floor. You cannot see inside this helmet of time with a moral mind. You cannot see, you're blinded. So you're making judgments you wouldn't make in your normal mind because you're blinded in this helmet of time called the war mind. The immoral is the slime that oozes down any lost vestige of bodhicitta motivation, laying in decay in the muck. You're just a schmuck stuck in the bottom of the Mekong Delta forest floor. This helmet of time is a psychic chokehold, blinding your third eye and any loving kindness you can receive or give. And any loving kindness you can receive or give. The zeitgeist of this time is reappellation, renaming and reclaiming your truth is a truth to your inner truth, and rappelling up hand over hand of inner combat from the charred hells and halls and walls of this charnel house, unsanitized by Chanel number 5. That's unsanitized by Chanel number 5. In a world of insanity, this is called the real world. In a world of insanity, they call this the real world. Now, dear friend, if you think this is the real world, then I wonder what the world of hell looks like, because this is the hell realm this is the realm of hell. And that is called the war mind, inside the war mind. So this is the goddess of the doctrine of separation. And inside the war mind is the helmet of time. And the only one who can really see through all of this in this veil of separation, which is the goddess, and this is called the goddess of the doctrine of separation. And seen through the eyes of the veil of Isis, and the only one who can see is seen through the eyes of the veil of Isis. The veil of Isis. This is the goddess she is the goddess of the doctrine of separation. Aho. So we have a lot going on here in this piece, and it's kind of fresh, so it came out last night around midnight, and it came out of a meeting that I had up at Mount Mercy College with a part of a peace group. So who knows how this voice of creativity ever comes in as the muse. The muse always shows up when you least expect it. So when I earlier introduced this piece, I said sometimes you write the piece and sometimes the piece writes you. And I returned home, who knows, 10 o'clock last night, and I no longer had sat down and turned on the tube or something like that. And this piece just said, hey, go over and sit down and write this. The thing it said was goddess of the doctrine of separation. And you'll find out later what that is as you follow through in this piece of writing. So No drama is a Japanese kabuki, deep kind of meditational, spiritual form of drama. It's actually a form of therapy, but it's called Thearia. Thearia is the ancient theater of the ancient Greeks. Who knows, it goes at least back to 600 BC. When therapy and theater were one and the same, people would use theater for healing, and the healing arts were one and the same as the theater arts. You wore masks, you played roles, and through the playing of roles, you would perform all kinds of healing rituals. And people would come in the theaters of Asclepius, and they would laugh, and they would use laughter as a medicine and as a form of healing. So that's where you have the masks of comedy and drama. Remember those masks you see? Well, they come back from the ancient Asclepius, which is way old. And these come out of the mystery schools as well. But this kabuki is from the No culture in Japan. And, well, there was a group of merry pranksters known among many of the beats as part of the West Coast tribe. And the merry pranksters were part of the Ken Kesey and the acid trips and so forth. But they were all up in Oregon and in Berkeley and so on. And they formed their own culture on a bus called Further. So in a sense, they were known as the Oregon Bearded Bastards. So that's a cultural reference to a deeper community of mind. You can find some of that down at New Pioneer. And the Jovian Jubilee of Juju beads is, well, they say on the planet Jupiter, this very large planet, there's people are in a lot of feasting and festivals up there. So there's a lot of celebration. Well, the term Jovian means lighthearted and celebratory and big-hearted and generous, and a lot of hospitality, a lot of feasts, a lot of parties. So maybe we're going to declare this a Jovian Jubilee year, and everybody gets to wear juju beads. But then reference we're getting here to, there's a kind of a transcendental nuance here of a bridge from the left brain to the right brain across the corpora callosum, the rainbow bridge from logic and intuition, right brain, left brain, and then back again. We're going to go like double hemispheric loop bio-entrainment, so like you can travel back and forth between those different bicameral mind and get the flows of both your intuition and your logic going. Call it heart mind, if you will, which is you're picking up the intuitive, which is the symbolic, the telepathic, telluric communication, which could be silent communication. Well, that trips in here with this appellation of the juju beads. So that may the juju, get the juju going, get that mojo going, you get the energy flowing. What we're talking about is this transcendental bridge, this trance dance, transportal into another universe, terra incognita, a new territory, which is this is the leap year. This is every 4 years there's a leap year. And February 29th this year is called the leap year. In this sense, it's an invitation, dear viewer, and all those who are listening, and all those out at sea, and the Lady of the Harbor as well. This is an invitation to have this as a quantum leap year, okay? A quantum leap year. So go into the heart of your deepest self and find those archetypal images that you like to develop, and have the courage to commit to leaping into that part of your own very own pool of wonder. Okay? This is the quantum leap year. All right? So you want to do a quantum leap and for yourself. This is your own inner work. Quantum leap year. So, okay, so we have a leap year in the physical plane, and the calendrical plane, and chronological time. Okay, cool. We get an extra day. But in the quantum leap year is an inner leaping, joy of the journey leaping, like a dolphin leaping, dancing, okay? So that's on one level. And then collectively, connecting up with all the other beings on this planet, At another level, collectively, we'll come into what would be called a cosmic leaping. Cosmic leap year, which means that sooner or later, we as a species, humanity as a species, are going to prepare to cosmic leap into the cosmos, okay? That's our preparation. This is our preparation time. But the cosmic leaping is we will then be dancing in the stars, okay? And not some la-la land. This will be our verite reality. And it's something to breathe in and breathe out and accept and access as our neural circuitry expands and amplifies our sensory field way beyond our own planet and the inner house planets of the inner house planets, and then the four larger planets, and then the two outer planets of Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. Well, the Song of the Lost Chord, and if you listen to any Moody Blues, and they have this amazingly cool album called In Search of the Lost Chord. And that is no less than the lost chord is the note of Uranus. So each planet has its own note. And Michio Kaku in string theory is coming up with this as part of the mind of God. It's nothing more than a cosmic string composition of harmonic structures and symphonic tones across many levels of 12 different levels of consciousness. Call them, squared, third to the third, fourth, so forth, on out to 12 different exponentiations of universes, string theories, omniverse, multiverse, and this is all strings in a musical cosmic orchestra, right? And each one of us has that encoded in our DNA. It's our neural circuitry. But instead of all of us, we get fed images by the mad dog called corporate media, which is mostly Hollywood, and you name all the little screen gadgets you get on your iPads and so forth, and emojis and all that. Well, a lot of those are fed images to you. So that's called entertainment, all right? So that used to be the old paradigm. We were all set up to be entertained. Okay, I'll have a hot dog, popcorn, and then I'll be entertained for 2 hours, and I'll buy a ticket. Well, this one is, you don't buy a ticket, you are part of the entertainment. In other words, you re-neural circuit your mind. It's called neurocircuitry. That's that double hemi feedback loop from left brain to right brain. That's a neural circuitry of hemisync biofeedback hemispheric loop, which is kind of a movement into the transportal into infinity, eternity. But this is all called bio-entrainment. So you entrain. Bio-entrainment is where you're the director, you're behind the screen, but you're also the actor in the scene, and you're also experiencing this as a movie. This is the movie, it's a cosmic movie, which is experiential. So there's usually a separation. If you go into a movie, they have this thing where you leave secular time out in the lobby and you go in and you have a really good experience, a film experience called suspension of disbelief. So you set your old self out beyond the door of the theater, and you go into the movie theater and you have a great experience, an adventure, a journey, whatever. It's called suspension of disbelief, a non-directed time. So in this bio-entrainment, you can learn how to do this with a hemispheric, there's a Monroe hemispheric loop, double feedback loop, left brain, right brain, and you can get these loops going into the string theory of 12 dimensions of the omniverse, and then you're into cosmic leaping. But this, you don't have to go out and travel to Tahiti or anywhere else. You can do this sitting in the comfort of your very own home. We're drinking a beautiful cup of tea, or maybe a little wine, or maybe just a cup of hot chocolate. But basically, putting yourself in a sensory field that is amplified, that is gentle, enjoyable, and where you breathe in and breathe out, okay? And receive permission to go into the higher realms of your very own divinity. So in that sense, there's a lot of cosmic quantum leaping in this piece here. And so just as backdrop, this is cultural references across time and space and across a frontispiece of a painting. So in a sense, you are painting your own inner being. So as I experienced last night, coming home, and I get this piece and the muse comes and it goes, "Goddess of the doctrine of separation." You're going, wonder what that is, but you're going, I better follow that voice, because that's not a voice that's normal that coming out of me. That's a voice from the universe. So that's kind of mind at large. They call it the mind at large, okay? So you listen to that, the muse. And you never know, songwriters know this, and artists as well. When you get that little hit of the holy other, it's called Gans Andere, of creativity, that voice or that painting or that image, you got to write it down. You have to write it down or you'll lose it. So that's where you have to surrender to that moment. And okay, so you carry your notebook or you carry your easel or whatever, even a little notepad or whatever, a little voice-activated thing. But that'll be a hit. It's just called a hit. So in that regard, we went into the head. And this one we're just going to go straight through with these different levels of understanding and the sea of unfolding that we were in this golden eternity of an hour. We're just going to go straight through so you get a sense of how this sounds just as it was written. And this took some time to put together, but here it is. Goddess of the doctrine of separation. No one knows what hangs here. Thoughts, ideas, sentences, no thing on stilts, no drama in a kabuki theater, Oregon bearded bastards, Jovian jubilee juju beads, Kikuyu prayers to the divine, old-time gospel, bluegrass Appalachian string banjo, French Appalachian, Vietnam in a long railroad tunnel, rolling backward through runnels of time, echoes of nightmares of steam and smoke in a hothouse hell of Mekong disaster, in the heart of darkness, overlord flashbacks to Buddha in flames and lotus in a sea of fire. Loss of desire in the ghost realms, robed in saffron orange lays, of lay down looted time, the realms of hungry ghosts exercised in Buddha's Tsongkhapa, song of eightfold noble truths of Majjhimikan Chuangzu Feng Shui, beyond dukkha misery in 15-hour journey to Wei on reunification train, 1,072 miles long, celebrating the victory over the Americans and unfolding the secret of the golden flower. Seen in Kabbalah, Pythagoras, I Ching, and the Mayan Popol Vuh, outside the purview of the papal view, outcropping the world in the Vatican balcony, overlooking time, in the reign of control of the lower realms, demons, deities of the Ashura realm, reassuring nothing, in assaying and reassessing your future, in charts of the insurance agent, selling you burial insurance, then life insurance, in terms of term insurance, redeemed only at the terminal of time, redeemed only at the terminal of time. Om Nami Padme Hum. Om Nami Padme Hum. Om Nami Padme Hum. For whom the bell tolls and then peals across canyons of exposed people, static and stratified status, walking statues in the daily circus. They perform roles for their daily bread. Bread and circuses for the minions, while Babylon burns down at the ground zero. They don't see Dextra Dei, the right hand of God, in a compassionate sutra for the heart of man. Even in the 100,000 tons of bombs in the bloodiest attack in the history of the Vietnam War at Quezon, 5 million dead, $200 billion. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Om Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. For the cessation of suffering of all sentient beings. Path of the Bodhisattva, in Zazen laughing bowl of crazy Zen bastards shouting, Hoka hey, it's a good day to die. Crazy Zen bastards shouting, Hoka hey, it's a good day to die. And disappearing as Apache Heshkes, the craziest of the crazies who would not submit to the final terrors of the white man. And disappearing as Apache Heshkes, the craziest of the crazies who would not submit to the final surrender of the white man. And reappearing in the high plains past the 100th monkey meridian, in the high-low country as Sisistas dog soldiers, and reappearing in the high plains out in western Kansas and Nebraska past the 100th monkey meridian in the high-low country as Sisistas dog soldiers, the Cheyenne dog soldiers who would fight till the last breath. They fight till they stand there with their spear in the ground, standing there fighting to the last breath, wearing ghost dancer shirts of Wavoka. In the war mind, you wear a helmet of time. You cannot see a peacetime because you're constricted, blinded in a conscripted script of anaconda scripture, of crushed bones and skulls, bombed out schools and napalm flames of little girls, running down a road of bombed out death. You are controlled inside this helmet of time. All hope is abandoned to all who enter here. Inside this helmet of time, you cannot see with a moral mind. Immoral is the slime that oozes down any lost vestige of bodhicitta motivation. Laying in decay in the muck, you're just a schmuck stuck in the bottom of the Mekong Delta forest floor. This helmet of time is a psychic choke chain, blinding your third eye and any loving kindness you can receive or give. The zeitgeist of this time is reappellation and rappelling up hand over hand of inner combat, rappelling up hand over hand of inner combat for the charred hells and halls and walls of this charnel house, unsanitized by Chanel No. 5, in a world of insanity called the real world. That's the real world. In a world of insanity called the real world, seen through the eyes of the veil of Isis, the goddess of the doctrine of separation. So this is a straight run-through after we've covered the symbolic different aperture levels and natures of understanding some of the stuff that went into this goddess of the doctrine of separation when the muse hits. So that was written last night. This one was just this morning. So this is called A Distant Traveler. So it's dedicated to all you young lovers out there. You just got married and hope your hearts are good. And may the bond of marriage, the Cana feast, send love and light to all your families. So it's a little love song to everybody, a heart song. So we lighten our hearts up here. It's called A Distant Traveler. One who hears far may at times, this is a distant traveler. One who hears far may at times be not so near. Do you hear that voice? It is a voice calling your name. Sometimes it is near, sometimes it is far. Sometimes it is so far away it's a whisper, barely perceptible. Sometimes it's the voice of God right over your head. Yet this voice calling your name, don't carry no shame. This voice calling your name, don't carry no shame. This voice calling your name ain't carrying no blame. It's the voice of 20 years after, light years before. This voice don't carry no unholy. This voice don't carry no unholy. This voice of the golden only has light in the hallway, a light in the window of time, beyond quitting time. A light in the window of time, beyond quitting time. This is the voice of the distant traveler, dear friend. This is the voice of the distant traveler, singing in the swinging limbs of a tree, singing in the swinging limbs of a tree, swaying beyond the fixity of time. This voice knows your true voice. This voice knows your true voice, unfolding only on the golden scrolls and hills of unknown time. Dear friend, on a golden note floating across yonder pond, you will find me there. This a distant traveler. This one really takes us in deep. Sometimes you hear an echo. Could be an angel friend. Could be a guardian angel. Could be your little friend down the block from when you grew up. But there's a little voice you hear, one so dear that only knows you and you know it. And this is the distant traveler. One who hears far may at times be not so near. Do you hear that voice? It is a voice calling your name. Sometimes it is near, sometimes it is far, sometimes it is so far away it's a whisper. It's just a whisper, barely perceptible. Sometimes it's the voice of God, right over your head. Yet this voice calling your name don't carry no shame. Yet this voice calling your name don't carry no shame. This voice calling your name ain't carrying no blame. It's the voice of 20 years after, light years before. This voice don't carry no unholy. This voice don't carry no unholy. This voice don't carry no unholy. This voice of the golden only. This voice of the golden only has light in the hallway, a light in the window of time, beyond quitting time. This is the voice of a distant traveler, singing in the swaying limbs of a tree, singing in the swaying limbs of a tree, swaying beyond the fixity of time, swaying way out and beyond the fixity of time, dear friend. This voice knows your true voice, unfolding only on the golden scrolls and hills of unknown time, unfolding only on the golden scrolls and hills of unknown time. Travel here, dear friend, on a golden note floating across yonder pond, on a golden note floating across yonder pond. Over out here, around the circle of this world, you will find me there. That is where we will gather in the clearing. This is the voice of a distant traveler. It's an invitation. It's an invitation. And in this sense, we will have something in the same note. The great sanity that sun has dimmed is called a new sanctuary. That great sanity that sun has dimmed. The horizon is threatened with rumors of war. Birds of prey appear in the garden. The world must be remade. And there is no birth that is not bloody. Where shall we go for this confinement? Where shall we go for this confinement? Where shall we go for this confinement? Sanctuary herself has fled before the tide of negation, dissolving all that must pass away. Long ago there was a word that tasted cool on the tongue, the glimmer of salvation in the burning times. Through the name of this word, containing secret mercies, remained elusive. It comforted the wounded and the dead, threaded a path through the fires, for the living to follow, toward a future not yet imagined. Now the name of this word has arisen, tasting of cool radiance, a new sanctuary, surrender. A new sanctuary. That great sanity, that sun has dimmed. The horizon is threatened with rumors of war. Birds of prey appear in the garden. The world must be remade. Dear friend, at this moment, the world must be remade. The world must be remade. And there is no birth that is not bloody. Where shall we go for this confinement? Where shall we go for this confinement? Shall we do a human sculpture project? Where shall we go for this confinement? Where shall we go? The sanctuary herself has fled before the tide of negation. Sanctuary herself has fled before the tide of negation, dissolving all that must pass away. Long ago, and far, far away, in a universe far, far away. Long ago, in a universe far, far, far away, there was a word that tasted cool on the tongue. There was a word that tasted cool on the tongue. A glimmer of salvation in the burning times. A glimmer of salvation in the burning times. Though the name of this word, containing secret mercies, remained elusive. It remained elusive. You cannot catch it. It's mercurial. It's trimorphic protoanoia. It's Hermes Trismegistus. It is elusive. It's mercurial. Containing secret mercies, remained elusive. It comforted the wounded and the dead. It comforted the wounded and the dead, and threaded a path through the fires for the living to follow. It threaded a path through the fires for the living to follow. You had to walk on water, and you had to walk on fire. It threaded a path through the fires for the living to follow, toward a future yet not imagined. Toward a future yet not imagined. Now, the time of this word has arisen. The time of this word has arisen. Tasting of cool radiance, a new sanctuary. Surrender. That's a beautiful piece. And we'll finish up here with notes from the Sargasso Sea. Notes from the Sargasso Sea. Indentured servants of love at work in the fields of Avalon. We are all called to something. The phone rings. Sometimes we might find we are called to many things. There are many rings. In this call, glimmerings, fairy rings, diamond rings, emerald rings, gold rings, ruby rings, turquoise rings, all answering the call of the aho moment. All answering the call of the aho moment. In this temple, we choose the rings we wear. We answer with the sapphire of desire. You will not find this in any phone booth. You will only find this when you become one with your higher self. You will only find this when you become one with your higher self, an indentured servant of love, That's quite beautiful. So like, we step outside of the realm of Babylon and make an affirmation. I'm going to become, in this quantum leap year of regeneration, an indentured servant of love at work in the fields of Avalon. We're all called to something. The phone rings. Sometimes we find we are called to many things. There are many rings. In this call, glimmerings, fairy rings, diamond rings, emerald rings, gold rings, ruby rings, turquoise rings, all answering the call of the aha moment. The aha moment. Aha! In this temple, we choose the rings we wear. We answer with the sapphire of desire. You will not find this in any phone booth, dear friend. You will not find this in any phone booth. You will only find this when you become one with your higher self. Ah, an indentured servant of love. Aho. So, in that sense, okay, we're going to go into invisible blue with a golden sunset here. Into invisible blue. So we're down there at subtropical mind along the notes from the Sargasso Sea. So you got Bimini and Bahamas and Bermuda. And so you have an archangelic triangle. I like that. So that's the notes from the invisible and from the Sargasso Sea. Into invisible blue. Along the space coast, everything is quiet. Everything is set. Every little is a motion in silence. We walk, amble out, humbly. Kyle, cane in hand. I carry a toolbox and a launching pad. We have clearance from all the ports around here. The coast is clear. All systems are go. We arrive on a spot of land unknown to us, terra incognita, selected for this purpose. We have walked down the Great Lake Jigading, Great Lake Michigan, gone to Rainbow Gathering Katua in the Smokies in North Carolina, in a magical mystery bus of a Volkswagen microbus. Now we are in subtropics. Now we are here. A higher purpose is at hand. We do the setup. Kyle is ground control and engineer. We are gathered here in the Academy of On. The countdown, set the controls for the heart of the sun. Handmade 3-stage rocket in hand. We have lifted off. All 3 stages burn swiftly, arcing out into space, into invisible blue, white smoke puffing and smiling. We've arrived on new land, into invisible blue. So this is dedicated to David Bowie, that Ziggy Starman who's gone to the mothership. Dedicated to David Bowie, ground control to Major Tom. Rockets on. May you have a great flight in the after realm into the invisible blue. So that is it for this time, dear friends. And may you find the invisible blue in the hues of all that you do. And as we move into the quantum leap year, happy Imbolc, which is another name for Groundhog's Day. Happy Groundhog's Day. Go to the Caucasus. Thank you.